A rise in tension is perhaps to be expected after the terrorist event in Moscow, and the targets of that tension are tragic taxi drivers, a suspicion of anyone with a more Asian look. It's madness and should be condemned, but it's being whipped up and encouraged, and indeed it's now mixed with a form of anti-Semitism. The Kremlin pressman on Tuesday, Dmitry Peskov, was asked by a journalist, I'll quote it, does the Kremlin still consider it plausible that the Islamists who carried out the terrorist attack may somehow be linked to Ukraine's leadership, considering the fact that it's led by a Jew? And Peskov says, well, that person is a specific kind of Jew, a Jew who in many ways exhibits a sympathy, who gravitates to the nationalist spirit that has permeated the Kyiv regime. This is abundantly clear based on the facts and on his statements. As far as the question of what can be said about the situation, anything can be said, and observers and analysts can probably afford to comment, but I will repeat again that as long as the investigation is still ongoing, no official authorities can afford to make any statements in this regard. Although I recommend that you very carefully reread the statements that President Putin has made in the last 2 days. In this context, they're very important. Putin had commented publicly on the Crocus Hall terrorist attack, but only about a day after it had taken place, I think 20 hours after it had taken place. And in his televised address, he said that 4 people were responsible for the attack, had been arrested en route to the Ukrainian border, where he claimed the Ukrainian side had prepared a window for them to cross. And he then addressed the public again on the 25th of March, and he said it's vital to find out why the terrorists were trying to specifically go to Ukraine after the attack, who was waiting for them there. And he's now acknowledged that the attack was committed by radical Islamists, but he's also accused America of trying to convince other countries there are no signs of Kyiv's involvement. The terrorists were members of the ISIS-K, which is a branch of the Islamic State group, who not only did they claim responsibility for the Crocus City Hall attack, but they also had webcams, body cams, and they broadcast that on YouTube or social media. And American officials have confirmed the authenticity of the group's statements. And of course, part of the reason for the attack may be Russia's involvement in Syria, Russia's involvement in North Africa, and perhaps also a memory of Russia's involvement in the Afghan campaign. Nothing to justify a terrorist attack, of course, but nothing in the ISIS-K's background to suggest any reason for a link with Ukraine. And Peskov's anti-Semitic jibe about Zelenskyy, as I say, fits a general mood that is permeating Moscow, and certainly I'm picking up from my friends still stuck in Moscow, that there's a rise in racism, and particularly in which taxes you'll take.